Bunny is back, this time around with a new DLC expanding a lot more on her backstory and how she became the notorious baker using humanoid animals as her ingredients. If you haven't watched the last video I made about it, I highly recommend you to do so in order to catch up on the story so far. As Bunny's ingredients run low, she puts on the mask of her alter ego, Bunny, in order to hide her identity, as she claims she is so popular and people would recognize her, hence why it's important for her to cover her identity, not to be caught in action. Before stalking her next victim, Bunny thinks carefully and plans her moves very carefully in order to obtain her unsuspecting ingredients, aka the humanoid animals which she uses to bake such popular and delicious cakes. She investigates her target and acquires relevant information in order not to have any mess-ups. She explores the town, listening to bystanders, police, and everyone else gossiping and talking. Listening onto conversations and talking to people seems to help Bunny become more prepared not to get caught and get away with kidnapping people. It doesn't take long before learning that the entire town is well aware of a butcher who kidnaps people and makes them disappear, putting them all on high alert, with the police department training their staff to be vigilant and interrogative. The mice around the town gossip on the approach they would take if ever encountering a suspicious person at night, which gives Bunny, the real butcher, some insights of how to avoid being caught. She also collects intel on where she can find her target and best approach she can take to do it discreetly. While exploring the town, we also learn about Bunny's competitor, who she's not very fond of. After collecting all the intel she requires, Bunny goes back to her shop's basement or pantry, which she also uses as a dungeon, keeping all of her ingredients or victims in. In there, she practices possible encounters with the police or mice who would want to alert the authorities or arrest her. Bunny uses a large wooden hammer to incapacitate her victims or get out of trouble, which she fully knows now, to raise suspicion if she would ever get caught being with it. Therefore, she plans to be more discreet. After some preparation with mock animals, Bunny starts feeling ready to go out and find her next ingredient, knowing how to react when she encounters each hurdle, such as different types of mice and the police. Meanwhile, she finds some notes scattered all over the basement which unveil part of the story. The first note unveils how Bunny in fact enjoys the company of Bear, a regular customer who not only enjoys her vast variety of baked goods, but he also enjoys Bunny's company and the atmosphere in her shop. The note further unveils how Bunny in fact is from a human lineage who lost their family somehow without being able to find them. It explains how Bear has been the closest to family ever since her family disappeared and that she misses human connection, but the animals are nicer to interact with. So there's not much that she can complain about. Therefore, Bunny somehow lost her human family and traveled to the strange humanoid animal world where she started butchering the animals and using them as ingredients. This could explain her indifference towards animal lives, as humans consume animals and this was the second nature to Bunny. The other notes reveal how paranoid Bunny is feeling, as if someone is always watching her. This is clearly a direct consequence of being a criminal, which results in one always watching their back and worried they would be caught red-handed. Just to make matters even worse, Bunny seems to have a competitor who don't see eye to eye. It seems the competitor, with no evidence and simply out of spite, reported Bunny as a suspicious person, which led to police attending her place of business for investigation. But lucky for Bunny, they weren't too interested, so they didn't snoop around to find the remains of animals in the basement. After some practice, Bunny feels ready, putting her bunny mask on as a sick joke to blend with the animals and actually hide her identity. Walking like a menace in the dark alleys, Bunny treads carefully not to be caught by the mice wandering around the streets and the police investigating. After stalking her prey, Bunny manages to incapacitate her first victim and bag it, taking it back to her basement. As the next day begins, Bunny starts her investigation for her next victim, exploring the town to collect intel, under the disguise of being a normal citizen, minding her own business, while in fact she has sinister intentions. While stalking her victim, she comes across an obscured person acting shady and wanting to help the victims. This mysterious person looks like the protagonist of the main game, who managed to escape and put an end to Bunny's reign of terror. It's unclear why this mysterious person wants to help the victims or families of the victims, but he seems to be a detective or a good Samaritan who wants to see his town back to its safe nature and see the perpetrator behind bars. Bunny's new victim, seems to have her sister disappeared on her, possibly related to Bunny, even potentially being one of her previous victims. This reveals the pain and anguish Bunny sets on these animals who lose their family members, appearing that Bunny seems to be oblivious about, which makes her momentarily question her actions and sense of morality. But as her plans for capturing her next victim are more important, Bunny gets back to her investigation, not wanting to be distracted. As the night dawns, Bunny gets back to her menacing mask, stalking Bunny until she captures her and takes her back to her basement to be kept for future recipes. The next day, planning the kidnapping of her next victim, she explores the town to notice two bunnies talking about the recent disappearance of their friend Abby, the bunny kidnapped last night. Watching the misery and concern of the bunnies, being extremely saddened by Abby's disappearance, Bunny is taken aback, refusing to confront her own morality, dismissing overhearing this conversation and heading back to her investigation. After stalking her next victim for a while, she manages to find out the dog will be visiting an abandoned church later that night, which makes it an ideal hunting ground to capture the dog. After some time managing to capture the dog, Bunny goes out the next day to collect information about her last victim. She notices the two bunnies still outside, talking about the missing bunny sisters Bunny kidnapped. It's unveiled these concerned bunnies are the parents of the missing sisters who cry and voice their worries, with Bunny overhearing the conversation and not being able to help but feel guilty. Yet she ignores this feeling and continues on her sinister plans. Going around town, she witnesses how it's not the calm and happy town it used to be, with everyone out on the streets protesting police unusefulness in capturing the mysterious kidnapper, and how everyone is vigilant and scared, with the selfish bunny destroying this once happy and safe town. Dismissing all this, only having in mind to sell her baked goods and win over the competition, Bunny is determined as always to stalk her next victim in order to capture them and have enough ingredients. This time around, the victim is the police chief detective who has been leading an investigation. Getting rid of the detective means less stressful nights and obstacles from kidnapping her victims. As of lately, there have been many children also going missing, which confuses Bunny as she knows she doesn't target children, which could suggest there's another butcher on the loose. As the detective works hard to solve the missing persons cases, working at the town hall, Bunny takes initiative and incapacitates the detective, taking him back to her shop to get rid of the evidence. This leads to Bunny successfully getting rid of all obstacles and having enough ingredients for foreseeable future, transforming into a fully evil person as she plans to also capture the mysterious person investigating the kidnappings, which leads to the main game where the protagonist tries to find a way out of Bunny's basement and break the news to the animals. It stays unclear what is happening to the children of the town who go missing, but by the looks of it, there seems to be another murderous psychopath in the town just like Bunny. Maybe even the competing pastry shop using the children as ingredients. Having played the main game, we know what will happen, with the mysterious person who will be our protagonist and hero escaping the horrifying basement and saving a few victims on the way. There are several endings in the main game which unveil the trauma the protagonist will sustain after escaping, and how despite whatever the protagonist does, Bunny manages to get away unpunished. There seems to be more endings to this DLC or prequel, which I will most likely make another dedicated video about, so stay tuned by hitting on the subscribe button and the notification bell. It's been your host Star, thank you for being here, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.